Before we get the show started today, I wanted to do sort of I don't know if you call it public service announcement, but it's an announcement on behalf of a great friend of the show, Adam Watson. If you haven't listened to our interviews with him, he has launched the Kentucky Educators RPG website and sort of, I don't know if you call it association, but he's doing great work in that state, helping educators see the value of RPGs in the classroom and beyond. So just a great guy doing some really cool things to, among other things, sort of generate the next generation, next cohort of RPG players. Anyway, his website has started a newsletter. The first issue was launched in June. So he's collecting information from all across educational spaces and gaming spaces. It's pretty cool. You should check it out. So you can see it embedded on the kyedrpg.com website. That's kyedrpg.com. If you would like to sign up and actually have the newsletter delivered, you can go to bit.ly/sign up KYEDRPG. Or you can find the link at the bottom of any KYEDRPG website page. So this is a great resource. It's worth checking out. And we just wanted to kind of give a shout out and kind of spread the word. So definitely take a look at that if you have a chance. I think you will definitely find something useful there. And now back to Tom.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Teachers in the Dungeon. I'm Tom Gross, and sitting right across from me here in the dungeon is Dan Ream. Hello, Dan.
Hello.
I'm exhausted.
I was going to say I was, but I didn't have to work as hard as you did today. My exhaustion's going to come Sunday.
Oh, yes. So we are recording this. You're listening to it while you're going to listen to this episode while summer camp is going. We are recording this the week before.
T-minus 3 days?
3 days, yeah. T-minus 3 days. And so today, well, I'm going to let you explain it, but yeah, we are in the thick of the final stages of planning and even in the setup stage right now of our summer camp. So here's our topic for today.
So we're making a virtue out of necessity here. This was supposed to be the topic for this week is what we've learned about or what we've learned so far.
Yes.
And because we are in the thick of this prep, we decided it might just make good sense to talk about. It's sort of what we've learned about putting on a camp, and more generally, just to share with all of you what the camp's actually going to be. Yes. A little more detail, since we've hinted around. Everything's pretty much locked down now. We can give a full account of how much fun the kids are going to have.
Right, and I mean, a secondary, the possibility is, we've tried to make this as replicatable, as easy to replicate, so that if you're thinking about running some kind of a camp for students at your school, or maybe you're a public librarian and you're thinking, it's not too far off from our Gen Con presentation from last year.
Right.
And, I would love to hear people doing things like this. Not because of us necessarily, and not exactly like ours. Everybody will have to do their own. But we want to share some of the ups and downs, some of what we've learned along the way, so that if you are thinking about that, you've got a starting point.
I've got a little cliche.
Oh.
As far as that goes, as far as how to do this. It was from a different context, but I think it fits for the way you and me helping have kind of designed some of these things that we've put together. Is you start small, you think big, and you scale fast.
Yeah, I like that, because that does fit. That fits the mold of what we've done. Gosh, when I think about 2 years ago, we had 9 kids, and how much fun that was, and how great that was, and I was tired then.
Yeah, I know.
And we were just talking before we came on air. I don't know, we're on topic, but it's not exactly how we're going to go about this. But right before we came on air, I said to you, why is this so? This year has been especially complex, schedule-wise, and really struggling to find like, where is this going to be? How are we going to put this in? And all this kind of stuff. And I looked and I was like, we're doing twice as much this year as we did last year. And last year was twice as much that we did the year before that.
Yes.
And so it's become a lot, which is awesome.
Right. And we had some roadblocks kind of thrown at us from the school. And again, it's not their fault.
Nope.
It's just they had some maintenance this summer that they don't normally have that forced us out of our normal place.
Right.
And into the library, which honestly I think has the potential to be better. We just have to get more comfortable with using all of the little nooks and crannies of the space that we've got available.
Right. Yeah. Oh, we definitely have more space this year. And that could be some of the problem too, is just where, like, it sounds like where does everything go, but it's kind of like, where does everything go that's encapsulated and makes sense? So yes, lots and lots of things going on.
Yes.
So where do you want to start?
Well, why don't we start? I'll start with statistics, and then we can kind of go from there. So, again, we had 30 kids sign up, and that's up 10% from last year. That sounds much more impressive than 3 more kids, but it's a healthy number. Getting 30 kids out in the summer, we're excited about that. This is the first year that we've got students from 2 different schools actually coming, in addition to our own, which is kind of exciting. We're spreading the word.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I did a little count. We've got 11 volunteers coming in to lead sessions of one sort or another, some remote, some in person. So that adds another level of stress and complexity. Are the connections going to work? All of that sort of thing.
Thank goodness IT works through the summer.
Yes, our 2 IT people are so kind.
They're magnificent. Yeah.
We've got 7 DMs coming in. We've had 5 different donors of one sort or another. Yeah. And that's always so exciting when someone just says, I want to help.
It is.
And so I don't know if we want to name them now or wait.
Let's do it now.
Why
not?
We've got 2 folks from our school, Jim Tallman, Crystal Ledger, who we just kind of put an all call out to the staff and said, hey, if this is something you'd like to contribute to. And they were right back with that, with donations to help. Good friend, old standby, Jason Mock from north of us a bit, came through and is providing essentially the meal for a day for us, which is
wonderful.
Pretty cool. And a new individual, Jim, I'm not even sure how to pronounce the last name, Trifone, from here in town, just out of the blue, emailed and said, I have these cool 3D dice bags, 3D printed dice bags, if you would like them.
Nice.
So he's going to deliver those. And then speaking of 3D, our friends at db3d.io provided just an overwhelming amount of really cool things I think the kids are going to be very excited about.
Absolutely.
So
I was excited opening the boxes.
Oh, I know. Like Christmas.
Man, when you hear it that way, so we've been in the weeds for quite a while, and you set these things up, and then you kind of set them aside. You're like, okay, cool. I got Cameron Johnson lined up. He's going to be here. Cool. What's next? Yeah. And you're kind of in the weeds. You sort of forget about all of the people that are involved in this, and how much of a contribution that is to the camp, but more importantly, what a contribution that is to the students that are coming. Because one thing that we set kind of as a we weren't going to go back on this, was that we want other people talking to the students instead of really us. I mean, now we are running sessions, you are and I am, and but we really wanted, because those kids get to see us every day during the school year, and they play games with us, and they, we DM games in the game club for the kids, and so they get us during the school year. So we wanted to give them an opportunity to hear voices from outside the school who are in the gaming community. So that is why so many people being involved. We left one off of that list that just came to my mind, and that is Zach over at Zeke's Comics and Games. We're doing a field trip over to his store, and he's going to talk to the kids about kind of running a game store, alternate RPGs than just Dungeons and Dragons. I imagine he's going to talk about Pathfinder and DCC, and I know he's a big Pathfinder's what he really likes, so he'll talk about some of those things, and then they'll kind of get to look around the shop a little bit, and if they need to buy something or want to buy something, they have that opportunity.
I know I don't like I hate to seem like I'm doing a pat ourselves on the back sort of thing, but it is kind of exciting to see. I feel good about. I feel like we've hit all, or just about all, of the facets of the role-playing game community with this. We've got people coming in, or us doing sessions on again, drawing your character, making dice, building terrain, learning how to build a monster, build an NPC, build an adventure, build a world.
Dungeon.
Yes, build a dungeon, mini painting, cosplay. It's...
Did you put him on that list too?
I did.
Okay, yeah, cool.
So, so we've... And then, of course, getting to see and hear from a store owner, as a culmination. And it's... The kids can see all the or not all, but a huge array of the hobbies that are available, even to the point of, we've got publishers and people coming in, zooming in to speak. I think that is, you guys can, if you fall in love with this game, you could make it a career.
Right. And I just, I'm just scanning, I'm just scrolling through the session here, and, one thing that has made it challenging through the years is that we've got kids that are coming back.
Yes.
And so you can't just replay, hit rewind and replay and do it again, because the kids that came back, they'll be like, wow, I didn't really learn anything new. And so different parts of our camp are growing, because we still do have the new students who need some of those basic things because they're either new to the game or just don't have a whole lot of experience. And so we're spending in one of our original sessions, session 0, we're with kids that have not played the game before or are inexperienced. We're doing a character creation section there. Then on the next day, the DMs are DMs, which, by the way, most of the DMs are alumni of our game club or of our school. Yeah, 5 of the 7.
I think that says a lot too about the community that we've got. It's pretty
That's
cool.
So great. And so then the next day, those kids that created a character maybe for the very first time on Monday, on Tuesday, the DMs are instructed to level them up Monday, so that on Tuesday morning, we'll sit down with those students again and help them to level up to level 2 and talk about hit dice and talk about how you go about doing that, which I think is really cool. It just made me think. Well, I'll save that for later. I was going to ask, did we tell the kids to make a level 1 or level 2 character? No, I don't remember.
Level 1.
Level 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Seriously, guys, we are in it right now.
It's a lot. Yes, there's a lot on the plate. That's for sure.
But I was also, another thing I wanted to say was, I think something that's cool when you talk about all the different aspects of the hobby itself is this is the very first time we've ever done anything like this. We're doing a video game tutorial on how to play Baldur's Gate 3, how to set up a character in Baldur's Gate 3, because we had several students that are like, I don't know if I want to invest the time if it's not cool. And we're like, well, let's do a session on it. And luckily we have Jared and Brian who have played it extensively, so they're going to lead this. But I think that's cool that we had some kids come to us and say, I'm interested in the game, but I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And so we're like, okay, let's do a session. So we've taken a lot of input from students on this as well. Your terrain is back this year because kids last year were missing it. They're like, why didn't we do terrain again? So we really came back really heavy on that. And so you're going to do 3 days?
Yes.
3 days work with kids.
Yes.
And that, let's talk about another new thing this year is the multi-day sessions. Do you want to talk about that?
So that came about because of last year we had Jamie Leonard, D20 Dinner,
Yes.
come and tell kids about the process and they just had a single session, and they got to polish one die, which they were over the moon about. And then Jamie actually approached us and said, I think I can get the process down to to a 4-day window. And if that's the case, then I can lead a session if you would like, and kids can actually make dice start to finish.
Nice. Yeah.
Which is amazing. I wish I could sit in on that.
I know, right?
So we thought, well, okay, but they can't all do that. We, funds are limited, or you can't have 30 kids all making dice. So we limited that to our veterans. They had first chance at that. And then we needed to come up with something else and I just thought, let's go ahead and see if we can generate other multi-day sessions that would be fun. So we did that with Cameron. Cameron was generous enough to say he could come for two different days.
Yes.
And so that'll be somewhat against the dice making. There'll be 3 out of the 4 days, and then the painting, the art from Cameron will be 2 days. And then I thought, well, terrain is something that could fill up everything, so I made that a 3-day as well, just like the dice. So now the downside, the students that sign up for one of those have less time to do any of the other things.
They're kind of locked in.
Yeah, they still have a little bit of time, but not a whole lot. But the benefit is they get a little more in-depth look at these hobbies.
And many of the students that signed up for like dice making, some of them, this is their 3rd year doing it. Most of them, it's at least their 2nd year doing it. So it's not that they're missing out on everything, but yeah, there are certainly some things that are new this year that they won't do, but they signed up for that. They were like, I want to do that. So the way we did kind of arrange that, how do we know where people want to be and how do we fit things in? Once students had signed up for and registered for summer camp, once that closed and we thought we got everybody that we had kind of imagined would be in there, we sent out a form to them and just said, here are the topics that we are considering covering. Rank them as far as your interest goes. This is a definite for you, and then it go down from there. And so we've got a really good idea of what kind of sessions would students want. And then I want to say you did most of the assigning, and then you gave it to me to kind of look over. But I want to say that most everybody got their first or second choice in most instances.
I think there might have been only 1 or 2 students where there was one session that nothing that they had picked was offered.
Okay, yeah.
And then we just had to kind of guess and say, well, they probably like this one better. But for the most part, we've got 3 sessions on Monday, and then 2 sessions Tuesday, Wednesday, and then 1 session on Thursday. So that's 8 sessions total.
Yeah.
And so to get 7 out of the 8, something that you really wanted to do, I think that's I would count that as a success.
Lots of opportunity to try different things and to either hone your skills or learn something new.
Yeah.
So one thing we did last year that we brought back this year that I'm so pumped for is it came from the first year's surveys. They wanted to play more D&D. 3 hours in the afternoon wasn't enough, and I get it. But one of our non-negotiables was we have to have an education component to this. We want them to learn. It's not just come and play Dungeons and Dragons.
No.
You go make friends and do that at people's houses if that's what you want to do. 6-hour sessions. That's for. But here we want to teach the students how to be better role players, how to analytically think about combat or the mystery of a story or something like that. So that's why we have the education. But so last year, based on they want to play more, we brought them a little bit more, but very, very hyper-focused on learning.
Yes.
So we came up with 2 different days where they will get an extra hour of play. And here's how it works, is one day they're going to study in one of the educational sessions, they're going to study social encounters.
Yes.
Role-playing.
And we broke the kids out. They had to tell us if they want to be in a DM track or a player track.
Yes.
So we have 2 different role play sessions, one for DMs, one for players.
Mm-hmm. And so they will learn about those from the point of view of player and DM, social encounters. Then they come to an hour-long session, and our student DMs will lead that with the other players, their peers, and they'll play an hour-long session on that will have some sort of an encounter, a real D&D encounter. Is that a funny statement? A real D&D encounter? Is it real? Anyway, but they will spend 50 minutes or so practicing those skills. And last year, what was cool is you and I would walk around and just sort of be pedestrians in the room while this is happening, and you would hear them say the things and talk using the language that they just learned in the session before that.
Yes.
The other side of it is combat tactics.
Yeah.
So this is why I'm really excited for it this year. A couple of reasons. Number one is, like we said, we have a lot of kids returning this year. We have a lot more students that looked at summer camp from the player's point of view last year, and now we've got more students looking at this as a DM. Yes. And so now we have several games. We went from three practice session games to 8. I think it's 8.
Yeah, we had 8 kids sign up for the DM track.
Yes. And of those, only 2 of them were the DMs. No, only one of them was in the practice DM last year. The 2 graduated seniors they want to play. Mm-hmm. And so 7 of the 8 are going to be brand new DMs. Mm-hmm. And actually, I'm really looking at these sessions because I'm thinking about Game Club this year. And I've got my eye on a few people that I really would like to run. And I'm hoping to have some surprises that at the end of summer camp, I can go and I'd say, I'd really like you to DM this year. What do you think? That would be super cool.
Yeah.
So the amount of games of those practice sessions, that's one thing that I'm excited about. The second is, I don't remember exactly how this all came about. I think the first place, so I'm going to talk about a person that we've invited to participate in summer camp that is a remote volunteer. I met him. This is Jay Gellerman. You might know him as Neo Fett, professional DM. I mean, just a role-playing extraordinaire kind of person. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'd love to have you involved in our camp somehow. And so he and I talked back and forth, and it just dawned on me that he should be involved in training the DMs in some way.
Right.
And so he's going to join us remotely to train the DMs on social encounters and the combat tactics. Mm-hmm. So he's going to join the DMs virtually in 2 different hour-long sessions to talk about each one of those. Then I got to thinking, well, if I've got a professional DM talking to our DMs, why doesn't he make his own scenario? And Jay was all about it. He jumped on the opportunity. And it was great. We went back and forth a few times texting about, he would say, so this is what I was thinking. What do you think? And I think that sounds cool. And then my favorite was, he goes, and this is a total legit question. I can't believe I didn't cover this before he started writing. He says, so do they have 2 or 3 hours to get through this? I said, oh my goodness, I completely forgot. It's 50 minutes. And just very positively, he's like, perfect. Thank you. I'm glad we got that settled. And so he put together 2 really cool mini adventures, hour-long adventures. One focused on talking, role-playing. Wow. One focused on role-playing, and then one focused on combat. And when we got the pack, so he sent us a packet, a box. And inside the box were all of these manila envelopes that were sealed. Inside each one of those was those envelopes are for the DMs, to give to the DMs. And it has all the materials they need inside. Now, we got nosy and cracked one open. You can see on Instagram this video.
Yes, we did an unboxing video for that.
And he's got player cards and like NPC cards in there. He has little envelopes that are sealed with wax that the DM will hand to the players, and they open it up and they see what's inside. Oh my gosh, it is so cool. It is so cool. I'm so grateful for Neo Fett for helping us out with that. And I can't wait to kind of be in the room, kind of be a fly on the wall while he's talking to our DMs and teaching them the skills. He also went a step further, and he's like, I'm with you 2 days, for an hour remotely. He goes, what about the third day? What do you want to do there? And I said, oh, that's a great question. And so he's going to do a session on playing D&D online and sort of the ethics of playing D&D and how best to, make that work using and what systems work really well for him for maps and things like that. And do you roll 20, something else, Discord, all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited for the kids to learn about that because that's what he does. He does face-to-face, but he also has I believe he has a Twitch. I hope I'm not wrong on this, but I think he has a Twitch D&D game that he plays. And so if anyone knows how to play D&D online, it's him.
Right.
And so I think that's cool that they're going to get that information.
And connected to that for the players, this was sort of one of our marquee names as well. We were able to get Joe Gorman from Dungeon Dudes to agree to come and...
professional player.
I should say come remotely to Zoom in and just teach the kids about role play.
Yeah.
And I'm a little biased because if you listen to the show, they're sort of a touchstone for me.
Yeah.
Watching their show was what taught me the basics of here's how you actually play this game.
Right.
Not the mechanics so much, but the just the playfulness and the role play and all of that. And he was key in that. I know I've told the story before, but it caught me off guard. Like the very first episode of their Drakkenheim adventure it was the first one I watched. And they're, the characters are walking into town, and just as a sort of scenery building, Monty, the DM, says you see a dead horse by the side of the road. And Joe says, I go up and I kick it. And I remember thinking, I'm a very results-oriented person most of the time. And so I was thinking, why did you do that? That didn't advance the plot. And maybe there's something dangerous in there. But it also kind of just opened my eyes that, you as a player, the more things like that you do, for the most part, the DM can work with that, build it, and it creates more or richer encounters.
And he kicks it every time he goes by it, right?
I think he
or
may
a few
do
times.
that.
Yeah, I think a few times. I think
it was referenced a few times.
It became a thing. So it'd be cool to have him talk to the players, because again, just like Neil Fett, Joel Gorman, he knows he knows how to role play.
Yeah.
And he does it a lot, and he does it online. And so, not that makes you a good role player, you do it online, but it makes it so that we can all see it and say, that's good stuff.
Yes.
So that is super cool. So we introduced the show as what we've learned. We've talked a lot about what we're doing.
I was just going to turn to that. Yeah.
But let's talk about what have we learned along the way? Maybe a few points of just knowledge of how this all came together, the learning moments. Do you have one in mind?
Oh, I had the question in mind. I hadn't come up with any answers yet. So if you want to start.
So the biggest thing for me is start start small, like you said, early, but start early and have a plan from the beginning. That plan might change, but have an idea. Like when we sat down the very first time 4 years ago and we started talking about this, it was like, do we want to do multi-day? Like we were already saying, how do we want this to look without talking about any details yet? And that's how we came up with 4 days. It's like, what a random, why wouldn't you just do 5? Well, we through our planning, we're like, I don't know that we can do 5.
Yes.
Like it's going to be exhausting. The kids are going to be exhausted. We're going to be exhausted. But so start with something in mind. Don't just jump into it and be like, okay, we're going to do a summer camp and we're going to have this and have this and have this. I think that's great, but I'd pull back and look at how is it going to look before, like how are you going to, what's the box you're going to be working in?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Mine is similar in that what I think worked well for us, it made it easy. There was nothing else to compare it to, but we built it based on our own resources. What we knew, people we knew who we thought might help. And that's what guided our design for the most part. And I think that's probably the most important thing is build it around your own strengths. Because then you're not, it is a little stressful this year because there's so many moving parts. But for a lot of those moving parts, I feel like if one of those parts dropped out, if someone had an emergency and could not come,
right,
we would know how to step in the gap in the last minute. Might not be quite the experience as the person that we had originally slotted,
right,
but it would still keep going. It would still be useful and enjoyable for the students.
Agreed. And I'm going to build off of that and say, I think something I've learned is really look at the community that you're in. We started our first year, it was just us that really did the instruction. You, me, Mark, Chris, and we just did it. And I remember sitting down in reflection right after that camp, and I said, I think the next step of this is to reach beyond us. And that's when like Andrew Kaywood came into the picture, and then we went to conventions. We went to Gary Con, and that's where I met Neil Fett, Jay, and then we got to create a relationship with Joe Gorman, and I mean all of these
Limitless
people,
5e.
Limitless 5e. I mean, and so all of that sort of started landsliding. We were like, okay, wait, we could have this person do this, we have this person do this, and so start small. Use the things that use your community. I mean, we've had Zeke involved all 3 years with the store. We've always done a field trip over to his store. The first year, he's a little more involved at the actual camp. He brought things there, and he talked to the kids at the camp, and then we went to his store. And as his store's grown and gotten busier, we just go there now. But you look at your community and see who can help us or who can help you. Because I don't know that you and me and Chris and Mark could cover all of these topics now that we've got kids. And we're in a high school, so we got kids for 4 years. Now, the camp hasn't been around that long, so next year we're going to have a whole bunch of 3-year people. We could have at least, I think, just one 4-year person. But nonetheless, that will continue to grow. And so you really got to look at your resource. You said resources. I'm saying people specifically, and really draw on their expertise and let them say no. Go out and ask, because most people are going to say yes.
Well, and this goes beyond just running a camp, but establishing relationships in the community, and lots of different ways to do that. And it just. But again, I think the start small sort of cliche works there as well. Get into social media, find groups on Facebook and Instagram, and involve yourself. Comment on the stuff they're doing that looks cool, and develop those relationships. And it sounds a little bit transactional. I don't mean it like that. I just genuinely. For instance, for Jamie, D20 dinner, I just liked her stuff, her dice on Instagram anyway.
I remember that, yeah.
And then last year I was posting about our summer camp, and she commented and said, that looks so fun. And then chatted just a bit and found out that she lives 20 minutes from us. So things like that can happen, and you can get these connections. And again, that just the skill that she brings with the dice making just makes this a one-of-a-kind event. This is, I feel really good about the fact that we can offer these students something they really couldn't get very easily anywhere else.
Right. Yeah, totally agree. The other thing that was on my mind, I don't want it to slip, is something else that I've learned, and this is really kind of a whole career thing, but it applies to the camp as well, is know who your stakeholders are. In our instance, it's really our school administration, because we're using the school.
Yeah.
And so make sure to keep them in the loop so that most of the time, and this is not a jab at administration by any means, most of the time they'll forget about it.
Yeah.
But at least they know, and they're upfront and they know exactly, who's going to be here, what's going to be there, and then invite them to come and see. Every year we've done this, we've had at least a superintendent or assistant superintendent come in. Yeah. We also have invited our staff, because these are their students. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to think, we've had probably 2 or 3 staff members. We even had secretaries come. Mm-hmm. But really, you're using the building, you're using the space, and they need to know you're there, but be enthusiastic about what you're doing. Invite them to come watch. I remember when I went, the first year I went in administration office, and I was like, you got to come see this. I was like, oh my gosh, what if something really bad is happening, or they get up there and everyone's screwing around or whatever, but I knew that wasn't going to be the case. It just was something that sat in the back of my mind for a moment. But I'm like, no, we did a good job planning this, and yes, we did it for the kids. But we should also know that the people that support us know also what's happening, and so most of the administrators that we invited didn't come. One of them came because their daughter is involved. Mm-hmm. But, we've had at least one administrator every year come and see what we're doing. Yeah. And so make sure that you let the people of the building, especially, it's the summer, so not everybody's in the building, but all the secretaries we invite come see, the ones that are still there, all the administrators come see. We even had one of the coaches, again, his son was participating, but, a football coach came and just watched to see what was going on. Mm-hmm. The reason that's so important is, number one, just so people know you're there. And so if there's a conflict, they can be like, oh, you did say that, yes, you guys can't have that space because the camp is there. So you get that. But the second is people talk. Mm-hmm. And so if someone comes, the football coach who's the driver's ed teacher might have come in and saw a freshman in there, and he's got him in class. And he's like, oh, I think I saw you this summer. Were you at the summer camp? And they're like, oh, yeah, I was there. And so then they can create that relationship. But I think letting them all know, I think even in the emails that we send, when we put all, I think school board members are involved in that. With the school board, I do talk about summer camp, and we talked about summer camp at a school board meeting. Yeah. So keep those stakeholders of your school or your public library or your community park district. Keep people that aren't directly involved but are part of your organization. Make sure they know what's going on.
Mm-hmm. I think just to kind of flesh that out, again, it's sort of an obvious thing, but I think it bears repeating that there is value in, and it doesn't have to be Dungeons and Dragons. It doesn't even have to be an RPG.
No.
But there are some definite strengths to D&D as a game that lends itself to the building of community with high school kids. And I think that is something that can fly under the radar, but is, in this day and age, to get all sound like an old fart,
old man.
But when we are concerned about disconnected students and what that means, the fact that this is a way to connect students, I think is makes it a very powerful addition just to our school community as a whole, that this is a place for kids to fit in, who may not have other places, but it's welcoming, it's fun, it builds social skill and social trust. And I think this is a way to sort of jumpstart that. And I think that's something else that's very key to, a key benefit of even doing this.
Right. We were out and about in the community and we ran into a parent whose student does this. And the student is a great kid, but very quiet. And the parent talked to us about how they appreciate this so much because it is a more face-to-face with more than just one or two other kids that and she's that's great. I'm so glad that my student has these friends, but this camp gives more of a social encounter, more of a social environment than what that student would normally come across. And I don't know, it didn't hit me right away, but as I thought about that after I went home, I was like, that was really kind of an important conversation we had.
Yeah.
Because that is why we do this. And I mean, just the whole role playing in the school in general, game club or summer camp, doesn't matter. It's to get the kids face to face. It's to get the kids to sit down with kids that they normally might not sit down with. And of course, the hope is always that, when they see each other in the hallway, even though they're in two different types of circles, that they'll still acknowledge one another. And I've never had anyone say to me or even give any sort of indication that, well, they don't talk to me outside of the game. No, I mean, I think that when they see each other in the hallway, there's recognition. When they see each other in a class, it's like, if it's not talking, it's at least a head nod across the room, or they walk in, it's kind of a smile back and forth. So you have a friendly face around the school, and that's I think for a lot of the students that participate in this, that's really what this is all about. On our side, they want to play games, they want to have fun, they want to roll dice and all that. But on our side, I want them to be engaged in a community. And again, like you said, not patting ourselves on the back, but that's, we're educators. We've been taught not to pat ourselves on the back. But to pat ourselves on the back, then yes, we are, that's what we set up for them. That's what we do. And I think that's why maybe you're thinking about doing this. So we started the conversation by saying, I'm exhausted. I am so mentally drained right now, and the camp hasn't even started. But you know what drives me? Is that Thursday afternoon at 4:00 when we go and we have a meal together afterwards to sort of reflect. A lot of our volunteers come and join us, and we just reflect on that. And that was such an important part that you I think really advocated for that. That let's not wait till the school year starts to talk about this. Let's do it now, before we forget. And I think it's great. But it's that watching the kids not want to leave. Yeah, we were doing some setup today, and our friend Brian was there, and I said to Brian, because we're moving stuff from classroom to classroom, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this table is so heavy. You must have moved the science table.
Oh, that one was awful. Yeah.
By the way, just a note: you can't lift it by the blackboard. You have to grab the frame. Oh, just a little note there. Everything's okay, but we learned a few things. Anyway, I was moving that, and I looked at Brian. I said, I would probably bemoan this whole situation because we're moving some heavy furniture to different rooms and whatnot, and blah blah blah. But I said, you know what? We have more than happy volunteers to put everything back, not because they want to move furniture around. They don't want to go home. Yeah. Remember last year? It was crazy. Yes. People putting stuff away, but while they were putting stuff away, they were talking about the games. Yes. And they were talking about their experience and talking about the characters and talking about how the adventure ended and all of that. That's what this is all worth. That's what drives me from really when you started knocking on my door in March saying, "Are we going to start doing this soon?" And I'm like, "Can I finish speech team?" But from that moment to the very end, it's that makes it all worth it, is seeing the kids just engaged so much and so excited, and they're happy, except for the one year that Marcus stole everything from the characters, and that student came in, he wasn't real happy, but I think in the long run, he thought it was great, but he was upset in the moment. But in general, everyone's super, super happy, and they don't want to go home. Yeah. That's what makes it all worth it. Now, we want them to go home, but go on, you guys. Go on.
Yes. I'm feeling a little bit at low energy right now, but at the same time, I'm also very excited. I can't wait for Monday. Can't wait for the kids to come in and just that level of energy. Yeah. And it just builds through the week.
I think it's cool that we have kids that we don't know. Yeah. Coming. And I can't wait to see them and say hi and introduce myself and really try to make them feel welcome and see those students, because we know what to expect from most of our students. It'd just be kind of good to see them, that kind of thing. But to have brand new students we've never seen. Yeah. And actually, you said 2 schools. We just added a 3rd school yesterday. We have one student from another school coming. So we have 2 schools, not ours, students coming, which is super. It's just great. Yeah. That's awesome. Any final thoughts? Anything else that we've learned?
No, I think I've exhausted my loquaciousness.
Okay.
Loquacity.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a day of quiet tomorrow. I hope.
Yeah, we can't get in tomorrow. They're shampooing the carpets in the library. So.
Yeah. So we've been kicked out for a day.
Yeah.
Probably for the best. Yeah. Probably for the best. And I just said it, but I want to make sure it's clear. Is one thing that I've learned along the way is do the reflection of if you're planning on doing this more than 1 year, every single year you do it, reflect immediately after. I mean, I would even say we would lose some things if we said, let's get together tomorrow morning.
Yeah. And we part of that is, I don't know if we mentioned this, but we do one of the last thing the students do is they do fill out a survey for us.
Oh, yeah.
Their own reflection on how things went. So we gather those and we go through them together while it's fresh in our mind.
Yeah. And that's a lot of fun to hear what the kids have to say. So, well, I don't know. I think we're ready.
Yes. Yeah. Or we will be. We will be.
They show up whether we're ready or not.
Yeah.
There might be some quick runs to the copy machine, but now the copy machine is right there.
Yes.
All of our materials are right there because we didn't have to take them all the way across the school. It was a great spot we had in the past, but now everything's right there in the library. So that'll be good. Yeah. That'll be good. Well, we hope that you enjoyed hearing this as far as especially in the terms of like the things that we've learned along the way. And again, seriously, if you are thinking about doing something like this and you listen to this show and you got excited about it, send us an email. We would be happy to talk with you about, maybe go into more detail about exactly how did we go about doing this. Because that's what I want to do. I want to share this because I'd love to see kids in other parts of the country and other parts of our state doing things like this. Yeah. Because it's good for them, but it's also good for the game and for the community to keep driving that positivity and really teaching kids how to play this the correct way. And it's not even about that. It's how teaching them how to interact with each other and be kind to each other, even though you might have a disagreement or I didn't want to open that door, but you guys did it anyway. So how are we going to work through that? Yeah. Anyway, send us an email. It's teachersinthedungeon@gmail.com. Follow us on social media. Instagram and Facebook are Teachers in the Dungeon. On Twitter, we are @DungeonTeachers. And then don't forget, also, we'll probably be putting some video up on YouTube from the camp. Pictures and video that we can put up. Yeah. We have to be careful with student identities and things like that. But we'll try to take some video to give you a sense of the energy of the camp and the kinds of things that kids are doing. So, anything else?
That's all.
All right. Well, I think it's time to roll the dice. We're planning on rolling the 20 next week, but we hope you do too. So, until next time, we'll talk to you then.